Please return Bubbles, your flight attendant, to her fully upright and locked position. Oh, wait a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat and buckle up. Seat backs and tray tables in their full upright position. It's another episode of Skip Happens, your weekly view from 30,000 feet. From the first music lesson to the first paid gig to signing the deal, it's the journey that is the life of an artist. Now, here's your captain and co-captain, a.k.a. your hosts, Skip Clark and Deb Lamfier.
There she is. Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome. Skip Happens. Hi, Deb.
How are you tonight?
I am so excited.
Me too.
Because you know what? I mean, they send a lot of people to us and they're like, hey, you got to get this guy on your podcast. You got to get this person on your podcast. And I said, yeah, that's great. Let's do it. So now I'm reading this bio. Chase Mitchell is right there. You can see him. He's right. Let me see. Yeah, that's, you know what? I mean, we're talking boy bands. We're talking about opening up for some big country artists. We're talking about going through life and opening up for groups like Outkast. And I hear my echo. And and I mean, I go on and on now. I can't wait to hear this entire story. I was reading the bio and it's like, wow, this guy is somebody. This guy is huge. Chase Mitchell, everybody. How are you, my friend?
Hey, welcome.
I'm having all the fun. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Well, we haven't had fun yet. We just started, but it does get fun.
Well, what they didn't see was the first few minutes, and I can already tell it's going to be a fun time.
We love to make it fun. You know what? It's about you. It's not about us. It's about real life, and it's about your journey to where you are today. And let's talk about you, though, a little bit. Where are you right now? Describe your surroundings to us.
So I am in Nashville, Tennessee, on the west side of town, over Bellevue. I've got my 5-year-old and 9-year-old quietly listening to us talk over here. They're distracted by their iPads and all their fun games and stuff. But yeah, just doing the dad thing, getting them to go down, and excited to be here talking about my new music, man.
So I got to ask, I mean, what do they think of Dad being who Dad is and what you've done in your career? And we're going to get into that in a minute, but what do they think?
Dude, it's been wild, especially this last few months. It's definitely been like a change of pace with the new song out and stuff, and more and more people singing along because it was so crazy. We were driving back from my show last weekend down in Tupelo, and my oldest, Brooklyn, who's, she's literally grown up these last few years essentially with Dad doing music. And she was like, I could tell she was just still as energized as I was on the ride back to Nashville from the show. And then about an hour into the ride, she finally pipes up and was like, Dad, what's it like having that many people sing your song back? I'm so proud of you. And I was like, what? Because she was right there a couple of years ago, when I was out down the Gulf Coast and like coming back to music up from, so much had changed from when I took a few years off. And it just seemed like a whole different life essentially. But that was a really cool moment.
How, I'd probably have to stop the vehicle because I'd be crying. Seriously.
I definitely did. My wife woke up mid-conversation and she was, sleeping over me. She's like, are you okay? I was like, you just missed the most beautiful thing.
Oh man.
I know there's a lot more of those moments to come. That's kind of like my prayer,
That you'll remember forever, for sure.
Absolutely. And especially in every artist we talk to said there's nothing better than having the fans sing your song back to you. Yes.
Oh gosh, it's just now kind of starting to happen with all the music we've put out this last year and these most recent shows. It's just now starting to happen, and like making that connection, it's electric, man. It really is like it's almost like you go on this great fast as an artist. And it's just the food you need a little bit, just that nutrition you need to keep going when those moments happen. Because they are rare.
Absolutely.
We're still on the up and up, but it makes me know I'm on the right path.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask this question. How many years have you been doing music? You were how old when you started?
So this is crazy, but I got my first record deal when I was essentially my oldest daughter's age, when I was 9 years old. I got my first record deal. I'm 33 now. It seems like I've lived like so many cat lives, if you will, or dog lives. I don't know which one. Depends on how we analyze it. But yeah, it's been crazy. It's a long time coming, But I feel like even though I've been in music for the last basically 20 plus years of my life, I just now feel like I'm hitting a stride that feels so new when it once used to feel a little jaded, a little redundant, just like what do you
Right,
say?
right.
Which is what we were talking about earlier, that break I took. It was so needed.
So, question. How does a 9-year-old get a record deal? Is that even like a legal thing, or how does that work?
Oh,
I've never heard of that.
It's definitely a lot of attorneys come in and they start kind of saying, well, if you're in this situation, this is what needs to happen. And if so, then we're going to need these rights and this, and we need parents' signatures, and we need X's on your hands at all these venues. And I lived like so many years just being stained with Sharpie X's on my hands. Every venue, it seemed like we went in, they were just like, whoa, hold the phones. You're how old? All right, dude, but so, but I learned really quickly the music business. It went from being idyllic and like a dream come true, having these opportunities. I had auditioned for some stuff. But the irony in it all is, I was always a big NSYNC Backstreet fan, more so NSYNC than Backstreet, if we're being honest. I was team NSYNC. But having that kind of like, I was on fire with that as a young age. My friends were playing with basketballs and baseballs and getting really good at sports. And I'm a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I love some sports, but I identified early on with trying to learn like Michael Jackson's first VMA awards when he did the moonwalk, and how can I step by step do these, I was on fire for performance early on. And so when we had the opportunity to audition for this thing that they were putting together there in Atlanta, that was put together by Maurice Starr, who was before NSYNC or Backstreet even were really a thing. He's the guy that put together New Kids on the Block, Menudo, New Edition.
Right.
And they have like a whole entire documented series about him. And that's kind of like another conversation. He was always the coolest, nicest guy to me. Like what New Kids on the Block and New Edition experience, I never experienced anything like that. He was awesome. And was very much the reason why I had the opportunities kind of laid out in front of me to pursue music.
Did you ever get a chance to meet the New Kids on the Block, or maybe do a little something with them?
Jordan and Brian. It was kind of like a benefit concert thing. We did a lot of charity concerts over the years in early 2000s, which is actually how I want to say, my memory might say it was so long ago, but I want to say that is the time where they were like speaking, they were performing, but we were opening that benefit concert there in Atlanta for Outkast and for Destiny's Child and a couple others. So it was kind of like a blur. Honestly, I had my mom who was like super excited, and my older sister, when they were like, "You have no idea this."
They must have been bouncing off the wall.
I, on the other hand, I'm like reciting every single Outkast line that I shouldn't know because I was way too young to be listening to music. But that's what I was excited about.
They did. Was Outkast like "Hey Yeah"?
That was the era of "Sorry Miss Jackson." "Hey Yeah." They had already had out the AT Aliens record. Even Stank on Ya they had out, but that was that kind of like where they went to that next level where they were no longer just a rap group. They were basically pop stars.
No, they were.
Full time.
Yeah, if I go to a wedding and somebody's playing Outkast, "Hey Yeah," the dance floor is packed.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. It's good stuff. Crazy. And these boy bands are just, you're talking about NSYNC and New Kids on the Block, and of course, now I just had a brain fart, but still, those are the groups that even today, and if I'm not mistaken, they're starting to bring them back together. Wasn't
one of them was touring, right? Wasn't New Kids touring?
New Kids.
New Kids on the Block did a new tour. I forget. I think they paired it with 98 Degrees.
I think you are correct.
They did like a
That's
combo.
it. Yes. Exactly. So you were in this boy band, and were you doing like the moves and all that and the dances?
Oh yeah. We had like 2 full-time choreographers. It was the whole deal, man. We even had one point where the 2 other guys in the group with me were 19 and 21. So it was like me at 9, 10 years old, and then them at 19, 20, 21. So needless to say, they were big guys, and we had routines where they would literally like flip me. And just like we did it all. Yeah, we did it all. We had like coordinated costumes and like all. It was very late 90s boy bandish. Everything you could expect from that.
fun.
Now, I was reading in the bio a little bit, and I don't know if you saw this, Deb, or not, but Radio Disney, it said you were a regular on Radio Disney.
Yeah.
Tell us about that
Yes.
experience a little bit.
That was wild. So so Disney, of course, is Disney. Like that's
Right.
When
It
you're trying
is,
to make
yes.
it in that world, it's they crush it from broadcast and media and radio. Like
Right.
they had just got into radio space, and they had only had just begun their AM Disney channel. So not a lot of kids listen to AM radio.
Yeah,
You know, like
yeah, that's true.
You know, and they were trying to kind of bring an appeal, since that's the only place that you could listen to them, essentially. They were trying to get younger people. So they started a series called Peanut Butter and Jams, and it was a summer concert series. They had us, another boy band called Six Piece, which we became like brothers on the road with them. Lil Romeo, which was like the little kid rapper, Master P's kid.
Yeah.
Vitamin C. There was like, and that's how along the way that we would end up meeting all these artists on the road. Even Sammy, there was like an R&B artist. He was pretty big. He had a couple big records, but Sammy. I'm trying to think who else.
What about the Jonas Brothers? The Jonas Brothers were big.
The connection with the Jonas Brothers is weird. It had literally nothing to do with music per se. This was kind of in this in-between phase when I took in that break, essentially, several years later. I had a manager that managed an act that was signed to Disney, Everlife. They were a big Christian rock band on Disney's record, and they were opening for the Jonas Brothers and Miley Cyrus. But anyways, I had a tour bus that I owned from the years of touring as a country artist, trying to make it. And when I took those few years off, I started kind of renting it out because, I mean, it's huge to store and it costs a lot of money to keep up with it.
Whoa, wait a minute. Chase, wait. You owned a tour bus?
Yeah. Well, here's why. I'm very blessed to have a lot of business people surround me. And my father, great businessman, my grandfather, good businessman. They were like, dude, you're spending so much money right now, week by week, whether it's van trailer rentals or hotels or this. And they looked at it and they were like, if you just got a simple short-term RV loan for like 10 years, what you'd be able to save essentially, and how you'd be able to start marketing yourself and rent it. It literally cost me like less than $1,000 a month to own a very nice.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
really?
and you put it on a mortgage versus I was spending that maybe times as much as that with just a van and a trailer and hotels. So
that's a good point.
It was a no-brainer option when they put it like that. But I was like 17 at the time, so it's like hard to get banks to want to, lend a couple grand,
Yes, to a 17-year-old.
Exactly.
You want what? You want how much? You're how old?
Yeah.
I think we're going to think about this a little bit.
Well, I'm just blessed that I was able to kind of navigate that kind of side of it, and always had really good counsel kind of in my ear. That's like the saving grace. And I really feel so blessed for that, because it could have gone a way different route along the years. But
absolutely.
But so when I was in my downtime and I was spending money, keeping up with storage and insurance and things, and I was like, man, I just need to go ahead and put this with like a rental company, like a coach company, and keep it going while I'm taking this kind of hiatus. Because I honestly didn't know what I want to do. Maybe I'd sell it, maybe get rid of it, whatever. And it was the weirdest thing. So I got a call and they were like, dude, you're not going to believe this is a true story. Hand on the Bible, like I'm dying.
We believe you. We believe you.
Yes.
Watching the E channel. Why we're watching the E channel, I have no idea. He just paid for like a weird cable subscription, but we're watching Married to Jonas. And I picked up my phone, which is Kevin Jonas's and his wife's show on E. I pick up my phone because I noticed the call was coming from someone from the leasing company. I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, hey, you're not going to believe this. So there's this huge storm and of course, I watched Fox News at the time, all the time with my dad every morning. That was kind of like our little bonding. And I knew about the storm, right? Because everyone at the time it was Hurricane Sandy that wreaked havoc on y'all's area, right? Up there in New Jersey, New York. It was crazy.
Yes.
And they call and they're like, there's not a single company that will send a bus into a hurricane. Okay, like an active hurricane. No one will take that risk. But we figured you're independent, you own your own thing. Like maybe you're crazy enough. And I was like, well, who's the client? They're like, well, it's Kevin Jonas from the Jonas Brothers. I said, I'm on my way. Tell him I'll never leave a Joe Bro behind. And literally, me and my dad drove that thing to New York. It was like an 19-hour drive. But with the storm coming in, there was already trees that were blown down and stuff. And it turned into a 36-hour journey But we ended up spending a week with Kevin Jonas and his wife at his house. He was the only dude
Very
in
cool.
all of probably New York for the first few days with power, because we like
Very
backfed him
cool.
power to the generator. But he was taking hot showers and had lights.
So wait a second. So they
Yeah.
needed a bus to have living arrangements for
That's
the
what-
hurricane?
That's what they were thinking, is that they were just going to leave the house and that they just wanted to get far enough from the city that they could live on a bus. But then when that just wasn't going to happen, they just, I guess, felt safer being in a bus, because it's just a steel box,
Right.
versus being in a house. Nick at the time, which that was crazy, being next to Kevin when he got the phone call from Nick and was like, "Man, I'm downtown. I'm just going to hunker down here at my condo." So it was a wild series of events that kind of took place.
See, those are the stories I love, man. I'll tell you that's pretty cool. That's pretty
So
cool.
you weren't a nervous wreck driving that big rig, or your dad? Who was the driver?
My dad is cool as a cucumber. He's driven everything that goes when you press the brakes, and like he's that guy. If you want someone in the middle of chaos behind some big machinery,
Really?
You want your dad.
Wow, I'm gonna take notes on that one. That's for sure.
Yeah,
because
exactly. So if you need a bus to go to Nashville, they'll come and get you and take you to Nashville. So
that's amazing.
You took some time off, as you mentioned earlier, and then you kind of didn't really know what you wanted to do with your life. Is that what you, like, all these thoughts going through your mind? Like, where do I want to go? What do I want? Do I really want to do this? I mean, was that the case?
That basically was I just knew that I'd been doing something so long, and it's something that I loved so much, that the feelings and emotions that I had were confusing, because I was starting to hate the one thing that I grew up loving my whole life and knew was like my calling. And so when that started happening, and that wrestle with these kind of thoughts and emotions, I was like, dude, come on, man. Sometimes, like the oldest saying is, sometimes you just got to step up and walk away. Like, when I studied great artists, a lot of the times the breakthroughs came back when they took a break and came back and maybe finished that part or that puzzle. And I just realized I was, for the first time ever, in that moment. And I'm just glad that I had my wife, and at the time she was pregnant. So, I kind of leaned on, like, well, maybe I'll just try to sell cars or insurance, or become like a, roof salesman or something. And not that there's anything wrong with those careers if that's your purpose. But I tried doing that, and I gave it my best. Like, I really went at it like I'm killing, snakes, if you will. But it just wasn't my purpose. And so God quickly, realigned my steps, and I'm so glad that he did, because it pretty much
pointed you in the right direction.
Yeah,
no doubt about
definitely.
that. So where are we today? You've put out, you've got a single out there, A Black Road. You're coming out with another one, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah, Strawberry Daiquiris this spring. So we have Back Road that's come out a couple months ago, back in, I think, October, which has been rapidly kind of like changing my life, if you will, because for the first time ever, I can drive through state. We were just on our way through almost towards Memphis, shooting down to Tupelo to do the show last weekend. And literally my song comes on 101.5 The One over near Dixon, Tennessee. I'm like, this is insane. Like, I've literally been working my whole life to have these moments. And we were just in a few other radio station visits coming back through, and like, just to be able to even have those moments happen, like, it seemed like so freaking surreal. It's awesome. So that's Back Road.
Was that the first time you've heard your country single on the radio?
There was one time recently, and it was right after I was all the way across the country doing Live in the Vineyard. It was like I don't even know how you describe Live in the Vineyard. It's an industry kind of like showcase thing.
Okay.
A lot of radio personnel, but they had a radio station that sponsored. So it was kind of like they were playing everyone, I think, that was playing. So that was still surreal. But I knew that there was a rhyme and a reason to maybe why I'd heard my song, which is amazing. And they have been nothing but supportive. But the first true, just like thumbing along, getting Taco Bell, just shooting the crap with friends. And then all of a sudden, like, bam, you're like, wait a second, I hear that. What is that? And you're like, that's my song. That was the first that had happened last week. And it was.
And the Taco Bell went flying.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah.
The fries went one way. The taco went the other.
I was so afraid I was so nervous to move the car that I thought I'd lose reception. I was like, I don't even want to drive.
You know what? I mean, that's a great story, because Chase, you've done this before, though. You've had songs on the radio. You've been on Radio Disney. You've done all that, but now it's like a whole new beginning. And now you hear your song. it's
It's
you know,
surreal.
it's like starting all over, right?
It feels like the first time I've ever been doing. I'm trying to put this charge in.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
I guess my daughter was doing her homework on it earlier.
Uh-oh. Well, that's okay.
It feels surreal.
I like the rack back there. Who's I'm looking at the rack behind you. Yes.
Heard.
You're breaking up a little bit. There you go. You there? Uh-oh. I knew that was going to happen. How did I know that was going to happen?
Skip happens.
Yeah, skip happens. But you know what? He'll be back on in a minute. What a great story. And if you're just joining us, his name's Chase Mitchell. Deb and I are kind of having a little chit chat with him, finding out what's going on. He's been through the boy band thing. He was discovered by an individual that put the boy bands together. He was on Radio Disney for a while. I mean, and like we said before we went on the air, Deb, we were all talking. It's like, dude, you're somebody. You don't realize it yet, but you're somebody. You know that? I mean,
he's been performing, singing, and a contract since he was 9 years old. I mean,
that's amazing.
You don't ever see that, ever. So, and he's young. So he's been in this business for ever already.
Can you imagine what he's doing right now? He's going, oh my God, I lost him. Oh my God.
Of course.
What am I going to do? This is not good.
Out.
This is not good. His power is out. Yeah, get the Generac. Don't they call those generators Generacs? I don't know. It's something like that. But yeah, he'd be. I'd like to see him perform. And he's got a lot of energy too. And a lot of those guys that have done the boy band thing, have you noticed that they've got a lot of energy?
I'll tell you what energy definitely radiates is, as much as there is technology with the streaming platforms today and the TikTok and things like that, nothing excites an artist more than hearing their song on the radio.
I know.
That will just never go away. I'm convinced. So,
so am I at this point, because it just amazes me. I mean, here he is. He's done it. He's been there. And now it's like whole new beginning. And he hears this song.
A whole new beginning, a whole new world's opened up that generates all of that energy that he's going to be putting forth. And who knows what the next 5 or 10 years are going to bring for that young man.
That's crazy. So, he's still young, 33. He's got a couple of little kids, I'm sure he's got a beautiful wife, and just kind of living his life in Nashville, trying to make it work. But it sounds like he's just about on the edge of making it work, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Traveling.
And to be able to open up, traveling. And
didn't you say he opened up for Taylor Swift? And
I was gonna ask him about that here eventually, and I'm sure he's gonna pop back in, but maybe his battery went dead. But he opened up for Taylor Swift, Jason Aldean, Rascal Flatts, and more.
Right.
So,
that's an amazing achievement at this stage. So
So I'm kind of surprised he is where he is, though, right now, if you know what I mean. I think he's coming back. He's knocking on my door.
There he is.
He's knocking on my door. Yep, I'm getting the countdown. It's my Ring doorbell is going off. There he is.
Oh my gosh. I don't know what happened. As soon as I plugged that freaking charger in, it took all the power. Hopefully we didn't lose anyone.
We had a great conversation about you.
Oh, great.
We won't tell you what we talked about, but if you hold on a minute, hang on.
Blame you.
No, it's all good. Hang on. I'm going to bring Deb down. I'm going to bring myself down. I'm going to bring myself back up, and then I'm going to bring Deb. There we go. I think Deb's there. Here we go. Here we go. There she is.
Now I thought you lost me for a second.
No, she's down there now.
Oh, that's right. There I am. Whenever something like that happens, I get switched around. But
it's just a little skip happens. That's all. Just a little bit.
Okay. So I was just saying to skip that, with all the platforms that are out there, the streaming services, the TikTok, the YouTube, it's even, I don't even know, sometimes on TV, we just find that nothing excites an artist more than hearing their song on the radio. I just feel like that's just something that will just never go away even though we have all these other avenues to listen to music. There's just something very meaningful about hearing that song on the air.
I feel like you nailed it on the head, because and here's what I think it is. I was just talking about this yesterday with my radio interview over in Carthage, Tennessee. And it was like, he was showing me, Dennis over there, he was showing me all these different antique AM, FM transmitters and the history of radio and how broadcast has evolved. And, and what I realized in that moment was radio is real estate. there's only so much property in this world, versus when you look at it through the lens of Spotify or streaming platforms, it is infinite. Literally anybody with a smartphone or a Wi-Fi connection or the ability to upload something to TuneCore or whatever, right,
Yep.
can hear themselves on Spotify. I can make that happen I could go record a German Shepherd howling and auto-tune it and then go upload it. And guess what? That next day, you're going to be on Spotify. You're going to be on
Right.
Pandora. You're going to be on. But the ability to hear yourself on radio is the true defining factor of, is your art breaking through? Are you having those moments that are reserved for just, a small tier of people that pursue music as a career? And that is what is so baffling to me, and why I'll always respect radio. Not to lose anything. I need Spotify and Apple Music. I need all of these programs and platforms because it's the reality, and I always do what I have to do. But I will always save a portion of my dream, my heart, what I grew up always chasing, that is reserved to radio forever. Like, that's my love story. To hearing it for the first time, it is so
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
Because I've been a radio guy for years, and I've never heard somebody so passionate about radio. I mean,
and that was so well said, wasn't it? Very well described.
In front of you. How did, dude? Bam, right on the head. You did it. Chase Mitchell comes through. I love it. Hey, tell us about the opportunity I read in the bio again that you opened up for Taylor Swift and Jason Aldean, Rascal Flatts, and many more. Tell us about all those experiences.
So the Taylor Swift experience is wild, because I can remember when she and I were first kind of like in the trenches. We were both like the preteens. Like, I think she signed up maybe like a month before for the CMA, when we were both like pining for who's the youngest CMA, person ever. But we were doing like these Oscar Mayer Wiener things. There were like these like middle school shows, and I was kind of getting plugged in on the tail end of her kind of coming out of that and going into what would be her next level of her career. So we crossed paths then, when like we were all still very much trying to make it. And then the next time I crossed paths her, very different experience. She had like 100,000 people in Fort Laramie for Country Concert in the Hills out there in Ohio. And I was basically opening for her. I was playing the side stage that was like playing for a few thousand people that were waiting for Taylor Swift to come on. So being her support act then was way different than barely getting a hot dog for compensation. But it's amazing to see how far she's taken it. And still to this day, I use that as fuel to my fire, because I know that what was possible for her is still possible, because no one's really kind of filled that counterpart. And her struggles as a female artist that's always been on the fringe of country or pop or rock or R&B has always been so inspiring to me, because in many ways that's kind of been my same journey, if you will, but on the male side. So yeah, dude, that's amazing. And Jason, so I'll give you a short story with opening for Jason.
God, you got a lot of stories, and I'm loving this. This is great. Just keep it going.
So I got signed. My first big breakthrough in country music was with Tony Conway, who at the time was running Buddy Lee Attractions. So it was a big booking agency out of Nashville. He had worked with all the greats, from Garth Brooks and Willie Nelson and George Strait, Blake Shelton, you name it, he's worked with them. But at the time, he was Jason Aldean's booking agent. And it took the first year or two of kind of proving that I could handle being on a bigger stage, or kind of that, because you're still a kid. No one had done this. Like people were still looking at it through the lens of like that Billy Graham, or not Billy Graham. There was like some kid, Billy something, that was kind of had a chance to be a kid.
Yeah, Billy. I do know who you're talking about.
Inspirational singer, like a voice of an angel kind of thing. But it never broke through to that. So everyone always kind of like used that as like the tethering factor. Like, can this still work? Is there room for a teenage country artist in country music? So the fact that he was willing to work with me and saw a vision and like was like, dude, I'll try to help you as many dates as I can and have you open up for whoever I can, get you in front of. He was working with Jason at the time. And it's really funny how God works, man, because we did his opening show in Macon, Georgia, when he was celebrating his second #1. It was Y. He had Hicktown, but Y had just came out. So it was a huge shift in his career at that time. He went from doing the same kind of thing where he's doing clubs and kind of showing up, people or maybe not, to now he's selling out these theaters and these big venues. And to be a part of that was crazy. But so who I'm now co-writing and co-producing my whole project with to this day, I ironically actually met him 15 years ago when he was playing lead guitar for
Wow.
Jason. And it just
Wow.
took 15 years of kind of full circle going through the
Mhm.
process for it to
Mm.
land. And so his name's Danny Rader. He's like a big brother to
Yep.
me, big
Okay.
mentor of mine. He's with Kenny Chesney and his band to this day. And so it's just, that's those moments that you know, you always try to, you think you have this vision for like, well, this is how it's going to go. And you hold on so tightly. And I just want this, this, that, and it needs to come so soon. But when you let go and you just kind of trust the process, God has a weird, weird way of making it so much cooler and
Yeah.
so much more profound than you could ever really think of or dream of.
I
Yeah.
agree with you 1,000%. And I always have told my kids too that it's amazing how things work, because you can meet someone today that you may not cross paths with for another 5, 7, 10 years. But when you do, that's when
It's
you're
true.
really supposed to. So I always tell them, so if you see somebody on an elevator, don't like bump them over or push them over, because
Right.
you never know. You might come across them in 10 years. And, and I learned that my own way when I was younger, running into someone, I thought something weird about them. And then all of a sudden that person was someone I had to have, contact with at a job. But it's just amazing how that whole cycle is put together. So
It's only God can kind of,
only God. I
those
agree.
patterns, that's why it's so important to like the golden rules, growing up. And I'm glad I listened to it, treat others how you want to be treated. If
Yeah.
you don't have anything
Yep.
nice to say,
Yep.
don't say anything at all, and try not to burn too many bridges, because you don't know when you need to walk back over them again.
Got
And,
it.
Right.
and
You
that's,
couldn't say that loud enough. That's awesome. That's
know?
awesome. Absolutely. A lot of people need to hear that. What's this about? You're currently doing a cheer tour?
Yeah. So again, I hate to be redundant, but
Talk to us, Chase Mitchell.
it's this full circle moment. So, like I said, when I first had met Maurice in these cheerleading gyms, because he was renting them out at night, and
Okay.
my sister cheered for Jayhawks in Atlanta, which is a big cheerleading gym.
Yep.
And now, go all these years later, right? Because it started there, essentially. If you really were to be a reductionist, like that's really where it started. Late at night, staying when my sister was done rehearsing and seeing these, boy bands come in and start rehearsing and making the introductions, to then now, a good friend that I grew up with, Christina Schuster, she is the vice president of Deep South Spirit, which is a humongous, David Kendall and the whole
wow.
family over there of Deep South Spirit has been just so nice to me. But they've kind of basically brought me in as their only featured artist for special guests, if you will, during their award ceremonies.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we come in and there's these thousands of cheerleaders, and it's, I don't know if you're familiar with like I'm still getting more and more familiar, but they are like really in there competing. Like this is like
Oh,
next
yeah.
level athletics. Like they're flying through the air. It's not like a rah-rah-ree, kick them in the knee, and then it's like next version of it. These
No, they're
kids are
throwing them up in the air. They're doing
It's
flips.
amazing.
They're catching them. Yeah.
It's unreal. And so the message of like where I have kind of made it about like chasing your purpose, that's kind of like my slogan. It's kind of resonating with what they're wanting to instill in these athletes as they kind of go throughout their life in middle school and high school on in college. And so the fact that we were kind of able to align and have this be something that has been tremendously helpful to me, because, when I go to these cities, I'm not worried anymore if there's going to be someone that shows up, like, oh my God, am I going to play to 15 people or 20 people tonight? Or versus these days, it's really insane. I'll have to share some of these clips because it almost still feels unreal. And they're singing along word for word, and we're playing in these arenas that, 30 days after I'm playing the Wharf Amphitheater, Kenny Chesney's going to be there. And like, that's insane. I could never do that. Like I could have never thought of that or planned that.
Wow. So what's your day like? Do you work another gig? Is it just this all you do?
It's just music. This is all I do.
Okay.
I'm fortunate enough to these last few years kind of make it like that, because
Good.
it definitely wasn't always like that. I used to spend time between gigs and stuff and working on my dad's farm.
Yeah.
What's really crazy is so this is going to sound bad off face value, but so what my dad ended up getting into later on in his life is developing like a big cannabis farm for the state of Alabama and Louisiana. And so, of course, I've always kind of been somewhat knowledgeable in that realm. And I was able to spend some of my time during the pandemic having a place, but it was no joke. That was 16-hour days. Like, it's basically the equivalent of being like a peanut farmer. Like, it's not glamorous whatsoever. People think that it's like this whole other side of the world, and it's like everything's done and everyone's all hippied out, and it is hard work. And I learned so much about myself during those years, so much about working as a team with someone. Because I don't know how we would have made it without all of us being on the same page. 100-degree heat in South Alabama, for 12, 14 hours of the day. It'll teach you something about life. And so as soon as I started having more and more paid gigs and had more people that wanted to book me, I was like, all right, Dad, I think I've learned my lessons here. But I'm on to the next one.
I love it. I love it.
Does he still have a farm?
Oh, yeah. It's very much still in production. He doesn't play as much of a he's kind of slid into more of just like a council role, and managerial stuff. But yeah, it's still very much full blast.
My buddy George Davis has a podcast called Before Nashville, and he commented on here just now. If you haven't asked him, his mascot on his hat is a great story. So I love you, George.
I was just on Before Nashville. I had an amazing time.
Yeah, George is a great guy. We talk a lot, and I love him to death. So,
dude, he's awesome. So the story about my hat, which I actually also have tattooed right here. My daughter, my oldest daughter, Brooklyn, she's like so wise for her age. It's amazing. But she's also an insane artist. She can freehand things like as if it was a stencil. It blows my mind because I can hardly write my own name, and I'm 33 years old. I'm serious. Like, you should see the set list. I have all the musicians that play with me. They're like, what the heck does that say, dude? But when it came time where Dad was going to come back to music, and I just decided everyone's like, what's your logo going to be? How are you going to run your website, your digitals, your graphics? I was like, man, just something about that is just turning me off now. Like, I don't want my name to run with. I don't want to make it just about me. Like, if there's a chance to rebrand this and it can be like more like a mascot or like a beacon of hope, if you will, as to what it was like to not chase your dreams or feel like you're living in your purpose, to then rolling up your sleeves and getting back in the fight and chasing your dream down. And I was like, if we could nail that, that'd be great. And so we kind of started playing with a lot of ideas, none that made it. But then when we started kind of noticing my daughter drawing more and more as she's hearing our talks, in the kitchen for weeks. And she kind of started coming up with her own ideas. And she was like, well, Dad, you're kind of out of this world because you're like kind of crazy. Like, you're cool, like, you're kind of crazy. And then she was like, I've always thought about the idea of just like what it would be like to, ascend through your time. She didn't say ascend. She was like kind of be lifted up, out of like bad times by like balloons. So they're planets, but they're balloons. And then
that is cool.
The eyes are one X, which is like one eye closed, and then a cross. So it's like focusing on the good, like focus on the light, like what that means to you. And to her, obviously in us, in our house, we're believers in God and Jesus. And so, that was kind of like her. And I just thought it was freaking so wild that it is 7.5 years old, that she's able to explain her drawing. And I was like, you know what? That is it. That is all I ever was looking for as a sign. Thank you, God. I'm running.
I love that.
I haven't looked back. I even was so committed, as you can tell.
Got the tat, dude. I love it. Oh my God. Now, is that are those hats like on your merchandise page?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm glad you asked. So on Instagram, which is @ChaseMusic, which is Chase MUSIK. So music is spelled with a K. @ChaseMusic with a K. We have like a menu, so we've got a few different options like red, camo,
right,
all this different stuff. But one of the things that we have been really blessed to be a part of these last couple of years, we give a percentage of all the online sales back to underfunded schools that don't have any money to buy it. So like in Santa Rosa County, back in Pensacola, back at the Gulf Coast, we were able to donate about 6 guitars and a couple brass instruments. And then just this last year, while we're up here, we've been able to donate a few electric guitars to Davidson County schools. So we partnered up with musiceducation.org. And I'm hoping to, I've got a lot of plans for this to continue to just thrust that message and to give back, because that's something I can get behind and promote. But my name, man, whatever. Who cares really at the end of the day? You know what I mean?
No, but what you did there is so very cool.
Mhm.
And a percentage of that should go back in her piggy bank for her efforts at designing that. That is really cool. I love that.
Thank you.
You see, that's what you're all about. You're about good music. You're about,
Mhm.
you know, God and Jesus and believing in that. And you're about a family. You're about
Mhm.
making things work. You share your life with everybody and your experiences. Dude, it's
Giving
everything.
back to the community.
Giving back.
Thank
So
Mhm.
cool. And you
Man,
know, you're
hearing
blessed for that.
hearing it from y'all, that means the world, and it gives me all the encouragement I need to kind of keep this going. Because,
Now, did George
sometimes-
say that? Did George tell you that?
Oh, I'm sure he said some kind of version of that as well.
I know he's watching, so I'm just busting on him. I love George. It's good stuff. Let me ask you, in a few weeks, you know, we're going to be in Nashville for what they call the Country Radio Seminar.
Oh yeah,
You going to be bouncing around or no?
100%, man. We should all grab a drink or something.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we usually hang out at the bar lines.
Okay,
Just
there you
saying.
go. I'll be
Yeah,
there.
we'll
I
let
would
you know.
love to.
We'll
I
talk
know
about
Taylor and Juliana are going to
Yep.
be lining some stuff up, so let's make sure that they make that happen. I would love
Yeah,
that.
somebody said they were. So somebody else I was talking to. So I'm sure Deb and I will be bouncing around. Of course, I got the radio thing to do, but you know, there's a lot of time where we kind of slide down the hall to bar lines.
Well,
Right.
we have to network, right?
I'll bring y'all a hat.
Oh,
Awesome.
that'd be
That would
so
be
very
awesome.
cool. So very
Um,
cool.
Yeah, so bar
Go
lines
ahead.
is where we're networking, is what I was saying.
Yeah.
So that's where
That's
we
how
have
it's
to do
always
our
been.
networking.
That's
That's CRS though. That's CRS. That is,
Yes.
you know,
That's
some
what
of the
it's
best
about.
networking and best conversations you'll have is in a bar line at CRS.
Mhm.
What if somebody approached you and said, you know what, we want to do the boy band thing again? Would you do it?
Ooh,
Because I mean, I'm looking at
That's
you.
a
I
good
mean,
question.
you're a good looking dude. You got the looks of
thank
doing
you.
that. You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
I'm not above any conversation. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Okay.
You know, I'm not above any conversation. I'll never say that anything's off the table.
Yeah. What about country? You're doing your own thing, but is there any particular country artist that you really listen to a lot or look up to?
Well, lately, I tell you who I've been looking up to a lot is Jelly Roll. I feel like he's kind of clearing the way for people being a little more honest. You know, there is a generation of country artists that I admire and respect, but the machine was still very much around them. I grew up in that, so there really wasn't this space or this ability to be like vulnerable and like kind of speak your truth. Like it was like, oh no, if you're touching on these things or these things, like no. And so I admire Jelly Roll and everything he's doing, man.
Yeah.
Of course, I love the greats like some George Jones. I've been getting into the Tammy and George series.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Oh my gosh, what a great freaking
It
concept.
is
Like,
very
that is
well
awesome.
done, I might add.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I mean, and I'm also inspired by artists that aren't country. You know, I really look up to the underdogs. So there's an artist that I follow that I was friends with back in the day. His name's Russ. He's been killing it in the hip hop section. And yeah, I mean, I'm open to all things. Anything that inspires me, I'm open to.
Yeah. What do you do when you just want to get away from it all? What do you do?
That's tough these days, honestly. I have to purposely let my phone die and somehow accidentally leave my charger somewhere. And then when that happens, it's like, all right, guys, I like to go out to dinner with my family. And one of the games we like to play, the Globe's right over here. I would get up again, but the Globe we spin once a week when I'm in town, and we want to shake things up. And we'll just let one of our kids, it's like they take turns, but they stop their finger on it. And whatever it lands on, we go find a restaurant that serves that cuisine. So we've had like Brazil food, Honduran food, Chile food, Indian food, Thai food. Like that's a fun game. It doesn't always end well. You sometimes you go right back to the house because you're like, guys, I don't know how my stomach's feeling. But then sometimes you look over and you see your kid trying something that they just normally would just never.
That's a great approach.
That's cool.
I know. I like that. That's something new too.
Show my kids the world, but sometimes if you really just try, you know, the world will come literally like right through your window if you just look for the opportunities. So they're right here. You know?
I would watch that globe and I'd keep my eye on it and be ready to stop it when it hits the United States because
Oh, well,
I'm a hamburger and French fry guy
we want some hot
and
wings and
pizza,
some cheeseburgers and
Yeah.
cheeseburgers, and maybe some
I'm
In and
always
Out.
guilty when it starts going by. So I'm a sucker for like a good margarita or taco.
There you
here.
go.
I'm always trying to stop it right at Mexico or South America because I can kind of navigate that. But no, we've been eating a
good
lot
margarita.
of sushi lately.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm trying to think what else. I'm sorry, George was bopping in here. Okay, never mind. Awesome interview, he said. You could. I don't know if you can
Thank
see the
you,
comments
George.
over there.
I
So
love you,
yeah, I
Joe.
love George. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
I
see him
think
at
he-
Nashville, or we'll see him at Nashville.
Oh,
for
we'll
sure.
all have to get together then.
Yeah,
We'll make it a
yeah,
reunion.
we will. We will. And Chase Mitchell, what's your website again?
So chasemitchell.com or Chase Music, but again, music is spelled MUSIK.
Okay, and all your music anywhere that anybody gets their music from, it's
all
there. All the
digital
DSPs.
stuff. Yeah, all the digital stuff, Spotify, Apple Music. If you just type in Chase Mitchell or Chase Mitchell Macro, it'll take you to everything.
You know, I know we're going to be hearing a lot from you. That's my prediction. We're going to be hearing a lot from you.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to meet you actually, and to be able to shake your hand and say, I love what you're doing, man.
I'm not gonna shake your hand, but I will give you a hug.
Aw,
And then I'll shake
even
your
better.
hand, all right?
Even
That's all
better.
right. Hey, we're open. We can do that now. You know, I mean, it's all good.
I'm gonna give y'all a big old hug.
Absolutely. Right back at you. Chase Mitchell has been with us here tonight on Skip Happens, and definitely look him up online. We'll put the links below the video and the music. And if you're watching this and you haven't done it yet, make sure you subscribe to Skip Happens on YouTube. And Deb's got her official country music fan club, and she can tell you about that right now.
Just follow us on Facebook at the official CMFC. We will be now following you, Chase, as well. So tag us back. And as your new music comes out, we'll promote it out to our fan base as well.
Bam.
Thank you so much. Skip, Deb, dude, I had a blast. Y'all, I can't wait to meet y'all in person and do this all over again.
Yeah, we'll definitely. And anything comes down, you just reach out, let them get a hold of us, or you can get a hold of us directly, and we'll definitely get you back on. I mean, we got an open door policy here.
I love it.
Many times as you want.
Do you?
So what you're saying is this isn't goodbye. This is just until next time.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I like it.
Do you have any plans to perform in the Northeast, or do you kind of stay down south?
It's for right now, we don't, but that does not mean that it won't change. We've been playing everywhere. So please, all of the audience that's following up on the Northern East Coast, there in New Jersey, New York, definitely know that we will be coming here soon. We'll figure it out.
We I wouldn't come during January, February, maybe
March,
March.
April,
I did a
May,
showcase in Rochester in January one time, and that is the first time I realized just how short I am because the snow basically was like right here. We got off the bus, and I was like, "All right, guys, something's got to give. I need stilts. We can't do the show."
Wow, good thing you didn't get to Buffalo this year. You might not have gotten out of there.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
I watched that from afar. I'm praying for everyone that's still kind of recovering from all that. I heard so many crazy stories.
It was crazy. And a lot of people lost their lives too. And it's just a whole sad situation with the way that went down. And it's wow. We lucked out here in central New York. We got like nothing. They got it all. And it was terrible. Are you a football fan?
Oh, well, I am a football fan, but only one football team. I'm not like the other people that have billion. The Steelers, Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right. Well, we
That's
know
all
that
it is for me.
dude, it's over for them. All
Well,
right.
I know. I'm silently crying every Sunday, but we're not going to talk about that.
Hey, we're in New York, so our Giants got their asses kicked, and so did the Bills. So I'm just saying. But I was wondering.
I needed y'all to win on a certain game a few weeks ago, and y'all did. But the Dolphins are who had to go and win and then ruin it for us after we had a freaking amazing game putting the ticket back in. We were killing it, but so is life, man. Hey, skip happens.
Skip happens. It's what it's all about.
What can you do other than lean in?
Yeah. Well, we look forward to the Super Bowl or the big game. They have to call it the big game. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. So on the 12th. So Chase Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. We had a good time. A great guy. Blessings to you and the fam and your career. And Deb and I hope to see you in Nashville coming up in just a few weeks.
We'll see you in a few weeks.
All right. Thanks for joining us here on Skip Happens. Peace out, everybody.
Good night, everyone. See you next time.